All right, good afternoon, East Hampton ARB. Sorry for the delay. We're streaming live on YouTube. We're on channel 22. The phone lines are not open for this meeting, and we are being recorded. You may begin.
Thank you, Matt. Good afternoon and welcome to the April 10th, 2025 meeting of the Architects Review Board of the Town of East Hampton. There were 13 applications on our agenda today, though agenda item number 2 was recently postponed by the applicants, so there's just 12 this afternoon. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of our March 27th meeting?
So moved.
Second, all in second? Diane, all in favor?
Aye.
So passed. First item of business is under business signs. It's Cluckman's, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-172-6-3. This is at 136 Main Street in Amagansett. Susan, it's yours.
Thank you. This is an application for a new double-sided hanging sign and 3 window decals on, sorry, is that better?
Yeah.
Should I repeat myself? Okay, so this is an application for a new double-sided hanging sign and 3 window decals at the building at 136 Main Street in Amagansett. This building has a history of hanging signs and signage there. Cluckman's is a new restaurant with an application being made by Ocean Graphics. And this is to be direct, this building is at the southwest end of Main Street in Amagansett. It's directly adjacent to the mobile station that you see when you first drive into town. It's a double-story white stucco building, and you can see from these photographs that there already is both a hanging sign and decal signs in the windows there. The signage proposed is that these decal signs would be replaced by new ones for the new Cluckman's, and it has a little bit of color, but roughly, similar size. But I have a number of questions on it.
Sure.
Can we see the rendering of the double hung sign? Thank you. So that is the sign that was proposed in this proposal. There are already 2 existing signs there for the Madison IT group, a larger one and a smaller one. Is this the entirety of the signage that is proposed to be there for the double-sided hanging sign?
Can I interrupt? Sorry, can we have a little, thank you. Okay, proceed. What was there currently? Is there
if you go back, upstairs? Sorry, Will.
Sure.
I might not have.
It was Madison IT and an attorney.
Right?
Yeah, there's a small sign there as well.
Yeah, so I think that was going to remain. We were just going to try to squeeze a small one above it if possible.
Okay, so the rendering doesn't really show what's going to be there. So there'll be 3 signs. The sign you're proposing is half the sign of the size of the Madison IT sign?
I think it's a little bit less than half, yeah.
Just slightly.
Yeah.
There it is.
Let me see.
Yeah, but now we're missing the 3rd sign, which...
Yeah, that's because I didn't have that to put in the rendering. It's an old sign that's been there forever.
Okay, so then that just leads me to the question of who actually controls this? I mean, the owner, and
Sure.
Do they still owe the responsibility to that 3rd entity for that 3rd sign?
Upstairs, an upstairs tenant. It's just something that's been there for, I don't know, as long as I can remember. That thing's been there. It's fallen down and been pieced back together 100 times. So
It's on a wrought iron bracket, isn't it?
yeah, it's just like a pipe.
Pipe? Oh, it's a pipe. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole sign system there on there with a cable that supports the end of it. And
But is the Madison IT group sign remaining? Because obviously the new restaurant is in the space they used to be in.
yeah, they're just a space over Madison IT. They've moved into the side between the pet store and the,
I see.
Oh, okay.
yeah, so they're still in that. That's this whole building's been something that we've been trying to figure out a good compromise how to handle this, with multiple use like this. And over the years, it hasn't been anything that's been brought, forward, because it's mostly just been office space or things like that, or some, but this being a restaurant, they're trying to get some sort of visibility from, passing vehicles as well as sidewalk traffic, because you can't really see the windows too well when there's cars parked in front. There's trees there and things like that. So that's the reason for that.
Are the decals meant to remain black, or are you going to change them after the construction is finished inside?
The black background is just to cover up what was there previously. That's just going to be the lettering on the glass.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
And so you're going to remount the Madison IT group sign with the Cluckmans above it as rendered. Okay.
my only concern is for that third entity, which I think if we blow it up, was it another Madison IT sign or was it?
No, it's,
I think it's an attorney.
It's an
I
attorney,
believe it's
so
been upstairs for
I
a
don't think
long
we
time.
can approve removing the attorney's sign without speaking to the landlord or the attorney.
Oh, yeah, that little guy there.
Yeah.
Yep. Like I said, I just didn't have the artwork from that to put in the rendering, so that's just why
Okay,
it's
so
not
your
on there.
proposal is that there be three, Cluckman's smaller above the Madison IT and then the two existing ones?
Correct.
Okay. And then the Cluckman decal will be similar to this notch decal, obviously
Yeah,
a
same
different logo,
location.
but
Yeah,
see-through, not
Correct.
black when
Yep.
it's done.
So are you going to lower the Madison IT sign to put the Gluckmans above it, or how are you going to do that?
yeah, we're gonna put it in between there and reduce some of that hardware, because there's a lot of extra hardware up there that makes it hang kind of low.
Okay,
You can see there's like 4 or 5 inches of space between the bracket.
yep.
Yeah, so we're gonna try to minimize how much of that is used with some better attachment points.
Okay, but it's going to be high enough so a tall person walking
Correct.
under it's not going to get hit.
Yeah.
Okay.
We actually have to revisit that anyway, because with the wind we had over the winter, that whole system got
Screwed up.
kind of messed up, so we're gonna fix that, straighten it out.
Frank, any comments?
Yeah, so I guess one comment I have is, if you go back to the rendering of the sign on it, I think it would be a little more congruent and consistent if yeah, that one, if the hanging sign were actually in black, so there's not so much contrast between. Because I saw the photograph and they're pretty dark, the Madison IT group and the law firm beneath it.
Right.
So it would be kind of consistent if the Cluckmans could be dark background like the other ones, as opposed to white, dark, dark.
Got it. Yeah, we're just
kinda
trying to
busy.
match his other location in Sag Harbor, is why it's got the white background. That's all. That's the only reason for that.
Yeah, I mean, he presented it as like on a black background, so I just think it'd be more, it's just a lot of contrast and kind of busyness if you have 3 signs in contrasting colors.
If it's too black though, you're not going to, got to be white letters then.
Well, go back to the, I mean, I can see the,
You can see it on the decal. I just don't know what those small words are on the other side right now. I have to look at the photograph
Nobody can
again.
read
I'm trying
that.
to pull my rendering up, but it's not loading.
Oh, smash burgers.
Yeah, I think it just says like smash burgers and chicken and,
You know,
Oh.
get it from
Fried
Cluckman's.
chicken and smashed.
I don't know, I mean,
So those dark letters aren't going to show up on a dark background.
all right, I mean, I think it's kind of busy if you ask me, but
It is.
that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, and it is in contrast to both of those are actually dark green rather than black. The existing Madison IT and,
I mean, typically what
Montanaro.
I see in the town is signage that there's kind of a consistency in terms of, it's not light, dark, light, or something like that. It's dark background, light color, light. I mean, it's not like it's the only sign.
It's sort of like one of those trade directories, essentially. Yeah.
yeah,
If you
which are
don't, if
not
you can't read the
particularly
smash
attractive.
burger up there, it'd be right in your face
No.
on the window.
You're never going to be able to read it.
Chris, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's something to be said for uniformity on that building, just like any other kind of directory signage. You know, it's not a fast food franchise, so it's, you know, do you think they'd be open to considering if they
Flipped it.
be looking at? I don't know if you'd need a white border around the red for it to read, you know, against black, but if they wanted to maintain it as red, you might need that little white border around the lettering, and then you know, go to a consistent dark green or whatever the consistency of the background is.
Just a dark background and
Yeah.
play with you know, see what you come up with. That would be my preference.
Diane?
We could.
What are your thoughts?
I don't know, it's supposed to be charming, right? I mean, with the Cluckmans in between the burger.
And it's going to be a
Well,
contour cut sign with the
But
top of the
I think
burger
it's
kinda
so
pokes
much
out.
going on that little sign. I wonder if you could convince Madison IT to make their sign smaller and make your sign,
They're not the application, but yeah.
I understand that. I know, but they've been before us several times.
Sure.
And I don't know, I mean, their sign is so
think it would
big and
be-
easy to read, and this sign it's full of information. It's going to be almost impossible to read.
Yeah, I think a dark background with white lettering, keep the hamburger, lose the side stuff. I think that would be a home run.
Okay.
Would you be willing to talk to him about that?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you need to, I know you want to open and all that,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
we would get you back right away.
Yeah.
I mean, we could also just approve the ones on the
I was going
window
to say,
right
could you
now.
approve the windows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then do like a conditional on this or something, or come back for this one?
Yeah. Julie, you okay with that? Okay.
Just so at least we can have some sort of exposure for
Yeah.
Yeah.
the
sure.
preseason.
Yeah, and I think the as you're driving by where most of that traffic is vehicle traffic, those larger decals will probably pop for them
Sure.
pretty well.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion to approve the decals as proposed in this application and to ask you to come back with a redesign of the hanging double-sided sign that is a dark background.
Okay.
Okay.
Same dimensions.
Perfect.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
Chris, all in favor?
Aye.
Right, so passed. Thanks a lot.
All right, thanks.
Item number 2, the Montauk project has been postponed. Item number 3, the Gig Shack, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-49-4-3. This is 782 Montauk Highway in Montauk. And Chris, this is yours.
Okay, this is, the Gig Shack is located at toward the eastern end of Main Street on the south side. Herb's Market is right there to the right, and coffee shop to the left. The building is set back from the normal street frontage of most of the commercial buildings on the street. The existing awning steps forward to meet that street line, which is quite a nice effect for the street. The existing awning is pretty deteriorated. It's on galvanized metal posts and frame. There's a wood framed wall, low wall on the street edge that kind of contains the dining terrace underneath that existing awning. What they're proposing to do is to take away the temporary retractable awning that's over the entry doors to the restaurant now, and replace the whole awning on the front and also the one that's on the side of the building that you can see behind the little gray entry pavilion there, with a new awning on a new frame, and that new awning would extend where that orange line shows to cover over the entryway into the restaurant. So the side awning, I didn't go inside the restaurant, but apparently it's pretty deteriorated and there's some leaking problems against the building. So what we're looking at is a request to replace the existing awning with a new, slightly longer awning with another aluminum post or galvanized post there to support that, keeping the same lines, and replacing the side awning that's coming off the restaurant building with another one to match. There's the application shows the orange and white stripe pattern that's being proposed. And I did have a couple questions on some of the details. There you go. The drop-down side walls that are there now, how is that going to be treated underneath on the side when you, like right now there's drop-down awnings to drop-down side curtains there.
Yep.
At the end. So would you be enclosing this whole thing with those drop downs, or would they be just?
Actually wouldn't. It would now be wide open. Can I walk over?
Sure.
Yeah. So these would still exist on like the panel over here, but this would be wide open. And then on the far side over there, it's also wide open now. We're not going to have those.
I see.
The wind that comes through and everything like that, it's really kind of just useless. And we're really just trying to make it, less water and rain going into the building when the doors are open, just better for everybody kind of in there. But yeah, no more seating or anything like that. We're not trying to do anything, but kind of polish the place up a little bit.
And the low front walls in between the posts would remain?
Yeah, it's got to get cleaned up and all that kind of stuff, but
okay. And right now there's a kind of a rolled out matting, kind of a grass matting on the ceiling of that awning, and there's some hanging light bulbs. So what's the lighting and situation?
We would probably just continue the same. I haven't gotten that far, but totally open to anything you guys want. I know there's been a lot of confusion over what's allowed and stuff over the past few years with the light emissions and everything, but we did kind of get okayed that the open bulbs are all right underneath the awning, and if that has to change, then that has to change. Not opposed to that.
But there's no additional lighting proposed for the covered entry or anything.
No.
Okay. That gray entry vestibule that's going into the side awning space, is that that didn't show up on the survey of the property? Is that something that's just a seasonal, temporary thing?
Definitely seasonal. Pretty much it's all open in the season. So even that wall behind it, it's all gone and everything like that. It's a wide open property like that.
Okay, so that whole gray vestibule piece on the right there goes away?
That would be gone.
And then,
ideally, up to you guys, what we would love is then on the extension for the off season after Columbus Day and all that would be to have two hard panels, one with a door and an exit sign and all that. And that way we could kind of, because we want to be open more year round. So it'd be very nice for us to have a cleaner looking entryway. And it's to the front doors, because right now you have people going in that door, they got people going through the front door, because we can't lock the door.
Right. Okay. So yeah, I mean, you can come back to us with more permanent wall modifications at another time, but I wouldn't want to hold up the discussion of just this awning work for
Great.
that. Any other questions from the board?
The color.
Color's orange, I think, right?
Yeah, it's orange and white stripe, right?
Yeah, it's like an ivory and
white or
orange. That's everybody. Everybody loves it. Big decision on our end. We've asked neighbors and everything like that. Everyone really likes it. We always have some color and we always have stripes, and the options have become very limited, especially in the stripe market. So we kind of got to make our own. And it's
interesting. No, I mean the awning colors in Main Street. I mean, there's some context photos in there. I was looking at it when we were there. It's they're all over the place. There's light green, dark green. Yeah. There's red. There's blue. Yeah. So it's kind of hard to say no. You legislate colors of awnings. It's a little bit tough there, and that's part of the charm of Main Street in Montauk. So it's a little bit of everything, as
wide stripes,
as they say.
So it's not like. So it's a little less.
It's a what? I'm sorry?
5 foot wide stripes.
Okay, so these really are custom fabricated.
It comes in 5 foot panels, so he's just taking the one and then going to the ivory and then the orange.
I gotcha. And the spacing of the galvanized posts is going to be the same because of that low wall.
Yeah, but it all has to be redone because it's actually coming off of the building, and it's all just like kind of screwed together. We're having it welded together. That's what they do now, and then it's powder coated for the elements and everything like that.
I see. I gotcha. So is it a clear powder?
Ma'am, would you stop talking, please? We've asked you twice.
So the galvanized posts are going to be powder coated a color, or is it just clear?
I think just
a clear coat. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty discreet. So I think I really don't have any issues with the application. Anybody else wants to make any comments?
Diane?
No, I think it's fine.
I think we're all fine with it.
Thank you, guys.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve this application as presented.
Second? Diane, all in favor?
Aye.
Frank, Susan, aye. Okay, so passed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Still change to commercial. This is Star Island Yacht Club, 2 Star Island Road in Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-6-4-9. This is mine. So this is an application to add fabric and vinyl shades to an existing pergola at the Star Island Yacht Club. And that you're seeing a picture of where they would go there between these columns. The pergola contains outdoor seating and bars off the back of the indoor restaurant facing the boat marina. The pull-down shades will keep sun and rain at bay and be electrified as they go up and down. The color is an off-white, which we have a sample of here. There are 6 bays, and so there'll be 6 shades, and with the fabric being the perimeter and clear, I guess, some sort of vinyl windows inside of each shade, so you can be able to see in and see out. The bays are different widths, though the height is generally 92 inches, which is almost 8 feet. This is an elegant and simple solution. I see no reason not to approve this. Chris, did I miss anything?
It's Montauk Yacht Club.
I'm sorry. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
Star Island Cross.
Yep.
Yes, you got it right on the nail.
Okay. Comments? No, guys,
It's really straightforward.
Yeah. Okay, then I'd like to make a motion to approve this application as submitted. Second,
I'll second.
Chris and Diane, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so passed.
That was good.
Still under change to commercial. This is a beach plum, which is 779 Old Montauk Highway in Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-47-1-9.1. This also is mine. Lori's here? Okay, good. So this is a modest mid-century motel, now a co-op on the inland hill, almost where Old Montauk Highway and meets Route 27. It's a very neat and tidy complex. Applicant has added a modest amount of decking, roughly 33 feet by 6 feet or 196 square feet across the front of 2 units. Will, could you show us that picture? So they just really added 6 feet to bring that decking out to where the railing is. And they've also converted a shed, which we were looking at previously, to a 2-room outdoor shower, and that's adjacent to the swimming pool. The building permits for all of these 2 construction things date to May 2013. All the work's been completed. It seamlessly fits into the property as a whole. I see no reason not to approve this application. Any comments? Chris, Diane, Susan, Frank?
Nope.
It's very nicely done. So I'd like to make a motion. Lori, did I miss anything? Okay. So I'd like to make a motion to approve this application as presented. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so done.
Can you do this PO at the same time?
Sure. So under certificates of occupancy, Beach Plum, 779 Old Montauk Highway in Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-47-1-9.1. This is an application to grant a C of O for the application we just talked about. All the work has been done. Any comments from the board?
No.
No.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to approve this application for a request for a certificate of occupancy and instruct staff to notify the building department that it is ready for a C of O. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So passed. Okay, we're good. You bet. Moving on to fences, walls, gates, and berms. This is Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-55-4-17, and this is 11 North Cape Lane in East Hampton. Diane, this is yours.
Yes. Well, this is a view of the street that is very representative of the entirety of North Cape Lane and Wood Pink that it's off of. It's very well done. It has a very rural atmosphere, and it seems like all the homeowners have agreed to sort of people their front yards with deer desirable landscaping and have just sort of, forest trees, except for number 11, which is the one before us. So let's see, what is that? Oh, that's the backyard. Can we see some other There, okay. This is the residence in question. It seems that it's been this way for quite a long time. And we have 5 letters from neighbors saying that they are all in favor of this fence and this, and a gate that measures at its low point 7 feet 1 inches and at its high point 8 feet 2 inches. And I'm not sure I have a photo of the gate, but they have a photo of the gate. Yes, there's the gate. It looks sort of benign in this picture, but it's quite, as I just said, it's at the low point, it's 7 feet, and at the high point, it's over 8 feet. But it's weathered and it's rustic and it's been there for a long time. And I guess the people are very nice and they got all their neighbors to write these nice 5 letters saying that we don't care. But we care. And it's totally out of proportion with the rest of the neighborhood. And to have that agricultural fencing right on the street I find very distracting, even though it's sort of benign too. The agricultural fencing on the sides and in the backyard, I understand the need for it. They have invested lots of money in landscaping, which we have all the records of. And I'm sure they're very nice and it's rather quaint and it seems to be, beloved, but if this fence were cut across and cut down to 5.5 feet, and I think that the deer fencing on the street side and in the front yard, they can have a 4-foot fence if they choose, but that's all that they can have. Is that right? Mm-hmm. So does anybody have more to say? Laurie?
And board is here as well, property owner. One of the property owners. Do you want to go first? Yeah, I just wanted to say that we actually have a 6th letter of support, by the way, which I'll give to you for your records. I may have said here it is. The property owner bought this like this. This is how it came.
Right.
And that was back in, what year did you buy this? 2002. 2010? 2010, yeah. Right. So we measured the gate at 6 feet and 8 feet. We didn't get a 7 feet in the middle. We got a 6 feet.
Well, from grade, it was at least 7 feet.
Okay. Well, the main reason for this is the backyard is a gigantic nature preserve. I submitted a copy of the tax map so you can see it's some 50 acres of deer territory. And she and her husband have invested a tremendous amount of money in the landscaping of this property.
We noted that.
Given that it was protected when they bought it. So this creates a problem, like cutting a gate down to 5.5 feet means the deer can come in and eat all of these plants.
But this is the only gate,
on the
with the exception of at number 1, there is a gate.
Mm-hmm.
But with every other, there are no other gates, none. And certainly there is no fencing in the front yards. So I don't see how we can approve this.
I think I have to verify in the building code, but I don't think we really have a purview to allow anything to approve as a board anything over 6 feet as a driveway gate. We don't have the ability. We'd be going against the code to approve anything over 6 feet.
All right, why don't you address the board and then I'll step in a second.
Well, I mean, I think obviously you've heard the basics. My husband and I bought this in 2010. It was there. We had, didn't cross our minds. We had no problems. I'm puzzled. We had no problems at the closing. Nobody told us there was a problem here. We love the property. Obviously, we've invested an enormous amount of money and into the landscaping, and we couldn't have done this, and unless we knew that we were protected from the deer. We back onto a huge preserve. I mean, it is deer heaven up there. I don't know how much time you spend up there, but we've spent a lot of money on the sides to protect our privacy, our neighbors, the back of the property and make it beautiful, and the front. I really would, I'd really,
The back of the property is fine, and it's very densely planted, and it's where most of your landscaping resides, is in the back. All those expensive Hakanalaukia, and, I mean, it's very, very nice, and it's very dense, and I think that the size of the property are fine, but I think to follow the spirit of the neighborhood in the front yard, because you don't have your most precious plants in the front yard.
well, that's true, but we had plans and we had hoped to do more work there.
Yeah, well,
So, I'm sorry, are you suggesting that we should just lower it? We can keep it, but need to lower it? I didn't follow.
I think you have to, I think the fence, you can have a 4-foot fence by right. But
And we can approve a fence up to 6 feet.
in the front,
At our discretion if we feel it's
in the front
appropriate.
yard, okay, I don't think it's appropriate. I don't think it's necessary.
Usually in this situation, people will put fences to the side, to the left and the right of the front facade of your house. And then they will fence in their backyard. And if that's where your most valuable plants are, you don't need to fence in the whole property because it's sort of disruptive to the cadence of the street. But if you fenced it from either side of the house at the facade and then back, that's the way most people handle this.
And
It's also, respectfully, it's another enormous expense to do that. I mean, look, I used to sit on my town planning board, and I understand completely, I understand your purposes, but it just seems to me it should be grandfathered here. I'm a little puzzled why it isn't. It's been there for apparently ever. Our neighbors, I don't think they were just being nice. I think they were honest when they said it's totally appropriate to the neighborhood.
Well, it's very weathered, and it's not obvious, and it's just,
Here's what's also the issue. You put a 6-foot fence that close to the street. Someone buys something 4 doors down from you and decides to put something right up against the street that's pretty similar, but let's say it's white or something. And essentially what you're doing is you're setting a precedent for the street, not just architecturally, but legally, kind of. Right? You're setting a precedent.
No, I disagree. I'm a lawyer, by the way. I disagree because of the fact the fence has been there for so long. You have the discretion, obviously, when people come here to say, yeah, but that fence has been there for forever, and we're not going to allow more fences. There's special circumstances.
Okay, I understand where you're coming from, and I'm sorry to say that your real estate attorney, didn't do their due diligence.
Was there a C of O on the house when you bought it in 2010?
That's what I'm saying. We had no problem. We had no clue about this. We started doing some renovations. We added a bedroom because, well, we're a family. And that's when we learned for the first time that there was a problem.
Right. I submitted the CO and the survey that corresponds to it with my submission.
Okay, we have that. Yeah.
Yes, and it shows the fence on the property at that time.
Yeah. It's.
Well, I
But
think
was the gate when at the date of the CO there would be a survey at the time of the CO.
Yes.
Is there a gate
Yes.
on the
Yeah, the
survey?
gate was there. Everything was. Excuse me. Yeah, the gate was there. Everything was there.
it's interesting because the gate, the existing gate also shows it being out in the right of way, which obviously is another thing we can't approve. And you had proposed to move it back in accordance with, I'm sure when you went to get this updated with your renovations and everything, this is where this is coming up. And they're asking you to correct things that are in violation, things. And so we're talking around this, but we do not have the ability to approve anything over 6 feet.
in the front yard.
In the front yard.
We compromised. Could we cut down the front to 6 feet or even 5? And then I actually spoke to my landscaper today, and he said that we could, he suggested, I'm sorry, give me a moment.
There you go.
Osmanthus in front of it.
No.
Plantings are problematic because if they die, we're left with what the original problem is. So we don't usually favor plantings because we can't control them.
Well, we already have to pick this fence up and move it because it's in the property, it's in the right of way.
So I'm surprised your attorney, when you bought the house in 2010, and I'm guessing you had a survey, someone didn't say to you, hey, none of this stuff is on your property.
Well, we're surprised too. This
So-
is all a surprise to us.
Okay.
So we have to pick up the fence along the front property line anyway.
Yeah.
Because it's in the right of way.
Right.
What if we were to move it back, since the predominant landscaping is in the backyard? What if we were to, as a compromise, to move it back off the street, but still protect the property from the deer? Because cutting it down to 5 feet isn't going to, I mean, unless you add more deer fence right up to the side of the house, then you're going to put more fencing even.
Listen, I'm sorry, I get tired of this conversation about how people invest in their landscape,
Yeah.
put up a fence and a gate and say, there's this like threat that's gonna come and ruin my investment.
But they didn't put the fence or the gate up after the landscaping. They moved into a house with a CO that had the fence and gate and then did the landscaping.
Listen, if you want to come to us and prove that that gate is grandfathered in, I'm willing to do that. We can't settle that now. We'd have to have a planner look at it, I think. But, you know, if you can prove that this is beyond our purview, that this is somehow, that this was approved by the building department, then we don't have to review it.
It's on the CO dated 2002, which shows the fence and the gate on the actual
2002
survey.
or 2010?
Why is it before us?
Yeah, why is it before us?
Because they're doing improvements to their house and the building inspector
Inspector
pointed out that
flagged
they never got permits for this fencing.
Okay,
However,
so they're saying you never got permits, so
But they have a CO for it.
it's not our,
Well, that
Okay.
goes back to 2002, which was 23 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, the town was a lot more lax in what they did 23 years ago as it's grown.
I understand,
More
but
specific.
my clients inherited the situation. They didn't create it
Okay,
themselves.
well, I think the way this comes out is that the front yard needs to be more in keeping with the street. So the gate needs to come down and has to be moved, and the fence needs to come down, and that needs to be moved. I would suggest you fence in your backyard, and you're probably okay with 8-foot fencing coming into the sides of the house, equal with the front
Meaning the-
facade.
Where?
But
Like everybody else.
I think,
This is okay, this is okay, this is okay. They want to see the fence.
yep, yes,
Like that.
yes.
We already have
Like the rest of the street, basically.
We have a fence, actually.
There you go.
Stockade fence here.
Yeah, which,
Okay, I mean, the survey is very, very confusing. I've never seen a survey like this in my life.
It is confusing.
Mhm.
So what do you think on that?
We have to move
5
this
feet,
fence
4 feet,
on-
4 feet?
not on your property.
That fence in the front.
Right, so we're moving it back, but can we move it back into the woods over here where it's not visible and we keep our gate off the streetscape?
well, where's the right of way at 6 feet is my question. No, I'm not asking that. You know what my question is, which is you're entitled on the side yard to go to 6 feet unless you're in the front yard. So what's the front yard limit?
The front of the house.
No, but
Sure.
there's a code setback for,
Oh, the front yard setback for this lot? If you wanted us to move it back to that, that would be reasonable. To the front yard setback.
Front yard setback.
I mean, I would
Top of
suggest
your head, Will?
looking into that. And
For a
coming
lot
back.
of,
I just have a question. Somebody know how long it would have to be there to be grandfathered?
Stuff is not grandfathered. This is not a grandfather situation. And given the fact that the fence and the gate were built not on your property, you can't grandfather something that's illegal.
All right, that's a good point.
the lot area is, Jesus, this is a very confusing
We're not going to calculate the front
survey.
yard.
Yeah.
The lot area is
Sitting here. We gotta come
24,000,
back.
so it's under 30,000 square feet. What is the front yard setback for a lot under 30,000 square feet?
That's not my job.
Sure.
I think you need to come back to us with a proposal that matches the code and where you want to move the fence to. I would strongly suggest you cut it down to 4 feet in the front and then move the higher fences to the backyard and protect your backyard.
I mean, there are also, talking to landscape design firms who work locally here, there are other options for deer deterrent. There's double fencing, which is lower, and the deer don't want to jump into that enclosed space. There are cattle grate driveway things that keep the deer from wanting to walk across that into your yard. So there are other options for deer deterrence besides just a high fence that, quite frankly, if they can see through it, unless it is 8 feet, they're still going to want to jump over it. So,
I know, that's why I want to keep it.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
I mean,
you know,
I'm willing to
I
hear an
understand.
argument that if it's not on the property line, at least the deer fence itself of 6 feet, you know, a clear fence set back from the property line, maybe. I'm willing to hear what the proposal will be for that. I think for the gate, though, so what we tell people, okay.
Okay, absolutely. There's no-
Okay, what we tell people with a gate is there are a few factors that that influence how you visually read it and how close it is to the street. One is how close it is to the street, property line, how tall it is, and the opacity. So is it open like a deer fence, or is like an agricultural fence, or is it like, you know, kind of semi-solid wood slats like you have, or is it just all wood? And the last thing is the color, which I think you're not proposing something like a painted white.
Yeah, no.
So, but those are the factors. So I'm saying, like, the better you can check those boxes, the more pleased this board is. So what you have going against you right now, and that is you're right up against the street, you're too tall, and you don't have a lot of opacity.
And I'm aware of that. I've been told that now, and I'm obviously very happy to move it back.
We just looked it up, and the accessory structure setback from the front yard is 30 feet. That would be a compromise position for us to move everything back, since we have to move it anyway, move it back 30 feet on a fairly wooded lot, which then it would be much less visible, much less in the streetscape that you're.
And what would
concerned
it be then, in your mind?
What?
What would it be? An 8-foot gate and 8-foot deer fencing?
No, but 6
6 foot.
But 30 feet back.
No, I want to know come back to us and we can at least talk about what is the front yards. What's the limit of the legal front yard?
30 feet.
You just told me the accessory setback, so you're for sure that the rear yard, like, you're sure that the front yard is 30 feet.
That's the front yard setback for an accessory structure.
I'm not asking you the accessory structure. I'm asking you for the principal.
Oh, the principal? We just looked at it, it was 20. So principal's less stringent than the accessory. Principal's 20 feet.
I think it's got to be much, why don't you run 2 4-foot fences parallel to each other across the front yard in the woods? And
You know, I think you're right that we should,
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
deer will not jump if they see 2 fences. So if you ran 2 wire fences, you already have one, cut it down and leave a 6-foot strip and then run a second wire fence. The deer will not jump into that space because they're scared of it. And you see this a lot with very sophisticated landscapes. 2 parallel fences, a dead man zone in the middle. The deer will not enter that.
So I'm sorry, Census, so you're suggesting one, we'd have to move it back. And
You have to move it back no matter what happens.
So you have to move it back and then you suggest put in another fence?
2
just a
fences,
4-foot.
2 parallel
2
fences at 4
fences.
feet.
Oh, I see, 2 4-foot fences.
I think we should take the board's advice and regroup and come
Okay.
back. I really think it's a
That-
good
that's a
idea. We
great
can go
idea.
over the options at least, and then bring them something on a survey rather than
Okay,
throwing things out into the air.
that's a good idea.
Great idea.
That's a great idea.
thank you for your.
And,
Thank
and,
you.
okay.
Okay. Moving on to agricultural overlays. This is 10 Springs Fireplace Road, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-163-3-9, and this is in East Hampton. And Frank, this is yours.
Okay, this is an application that this board reviewed at our last meeting to construct a new single-family residence, pool, pavilion, and garage. The property is located on Springs Fireplace Road in East Hampton, located adjacent to, but not within, an agricultural overlay district. This board looked upon the application favorably at our last meeting, was prepared to approve it, but we requested, but we couldn't do so because we couldn't approve the pool pavilion because we didn't have the elevations and the height. So the applicant has come back to us with those. You can step up to the podium if you want. To recap, the proposed house here, the maximum allowable is GFA is 5,132. The applicant is requesting 3,978. So it's about 1,100 square feet less. Garage is the maximum 600 square feet. The height of the house would be 29 feet 8 inches above grade. 32 feet is allowable. I'll just recap. Currently, the property is shielded from the public vantage points on Spring Fireplace Road by mature landscaping along the roadside, as well as existing structures on 2 Springs Fireplace Road to the north, because this is a flag lot, as you can see. The proposed structures are unlikely to be visible from public vantage point. Did I just say that? The site is neighbored by residential properties to the west and south, and agricultural properties to the north and east. So the most visible part of this is the garage that you'll see from the street. So we can just go over so we saw that at the last meeting. If we can go back, Will, to the elevations of the pool pavilion. It's, it's in the upper left corner, the northeast corner. So it's a good rendering there on the right. It appears to be in the same architectural language as the house. Horizontal 1x6 cedar siding with naturally weathered cedar beams and fascia, and the fireplace would be stucco. The height is given there above grade, 13 feet 9 inches above grade. I think that's it. And then what came up, if you can just remind me, the fencing, are you proposing any fencing? You're just keeping it as?
All the code, just code.
Okay,
6 foot side, front 4 feet. No,
Yeah.
Nothing different.
So
Kind of looked at this last time.
we looked at it last time. We find the lighting appears to conform to code. So if I don't have any more comments or objections, I'd like to make a motion to approve the application.
Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Hang on. So I'd like to, I haven't done it yet. So I'd like to make a motion to approve this application as presented. Second?
Chris?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So passed.
Very
Very
nice.
much.
Congratulations.
Still in agricultural overlays. This is Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-196-1-2.1. This is 7 Town Line Road in Waynescott. Diane, this is yours.
Yes. Hello. This is a very particular property because it is the first residential property that one would view when coming into the town of East Hampton. It's number 7 Town Line Road, and that's from the existing house. That's the current look of the front yard. And there's currently a simple few thousand square foot house on the property. Like that. There's a large conservation easement in the back of the property that's quite extensive. So the proposal for this property is to have a sizable tennis court, a swimming pool, pergolas, pool houses, a 2-story house, a very, very different property, and if it seems to me from the landscaping plans, et cetera, that they are planning to keep that beautiful cryptomeria hedge and even add landscaping to it in the town line end of it to make it even more secure. But what if there was a cryptomeria blight or something, I mean, I hope not. But anyway, it seems like this is one of those situations where you're taking a property that was a simple property and making it a very complicated property. And there's lots of drawings and things of what the proposed house is to look like. Could we see some of those? In terms of size, the new residence is proposed at 8,073 square feet with a 200 square foot pool house, a 6,844 square foot tennis court, outdoor shower and outdoor kitchen that Will said that the dimensions and things were sort of vague and he couldn't make a determination about that. So we don't know about that. There's a 200-foot shed, a 330-foot pergola, and the house is 32 feet high. So it presents an extremely, there's some colored pictures that are even more, well, there we go.
That's the front.
That's the front, and it is now, you know, where you saw that expansive lawn, I mean, that's all gone. This house is very, very close to the road now, with all those things behind it, the pool, the tennis court, the kitchen that we don't know about, the pergola, all those things. So this is a very particular property, and I'd like to hear other questions and.
Well, you should know that we spent over a year with your neighbor to the south, and that was a very difficult application for us with many, many changes requested by us. And even in the end, there were some changes that we weren't really happy with. So you're in a situation where this is a prime property because it's the first property you see driving into East Hampton. It's in Wainscott, which is an historic community. And we had great difficulty with your neighbor. So we're very tuned into what we think this property should end up looking like, which I think is a little different from what you think it should look like. The color, the massing, the scale, it doesn't relate to any building I'm aware of in Wainscott. It's not contextual. This could be in Dallas, it could be Mid-Island, it could be anywhere, but it doesn't seem to me like a house that belongs in Wainscott because I know of no other houses that look like this.
I got a question, which is about that issue of context, which is you've got a pretty extensive body of built work, right? And
John Lafferty, yes.
Yes,
Yeah. Yes, I do. Sir.
Yeah, I've looked through your website and like aside from a project Fairley Court, which I can sort of see the language of the clear stories, right? And we can talk about this, but a lot of your other work is quite contextual in terms of what Chip is talking about, in terms of, I mean, we're not interested in doing cookie cutter like it has to be like any other house, but I'd like to know kind of why you departed from that, from the language that I often see in your body of work, which tends to be more, a little more traditional in scope. Why you don't have those traditional details? Like the fenestration is quite different in the size of the windows, and maybe you could just sort of explain why you sort of came at it like this as opposed to a lot of other projects you've done.
Well, I'm working with the owners, and this Michael Street is one of the developers, the developer of the property, and it was their request that we do a more transitional home that still had gables and still had all the traditional archetype shapes, but wanted a bit more contemporary feeling. The brown the triangle windows, the color of the windows, they're being black, the siding being while it's shingle, it'd be a stained white shingle. Not too unfamiliar, not too unlike your neighbors who saw something about it. It's very beautiful, but it's it sort of took its cues from that a little bit. This is a bit more modern than that.
Right.
And as far as it is a bit different certainly from the existing house, which is set very, very far back on the property. It's a one-story house that's been there for. Actually, I worked in a house personally. It's like 35 years ago.
Yeah.
And this is definitely further up the street, but it's not on the street. It's certainly set back beyond the front yard setback. I don't recall the exact amount, but I believe this is 70 or 80 feet off the street.
Well, house of this
70 feet
mass
off,
and
70 feet off the street.
Yeah.
it's 70 feet off the street.
Michael wanted me to tell you that they are putting in 35-foot trees, very similar to the arborvitaes on the front of the street, but I know you just told Chip that you don't count landscaping because of.
Well, look what happened on
I get that.
Route 114 with the pine trees, okay? Or look at hedging and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So this is not an end user, this is being built by your developer, sir? Okay. Okay. Chris, you got some comments?
I think that in speaking to the contextualism, I think if you were to compare the agricultural area kind of common language, you'd see also a different percentage of window opening to wall. This is a lot of glass on the front, on the street front. Personally, I'm much more open to flexibility about obviously free reign on the interiors and even in the rear, which is not visible as the kind of the front facade of East Hampton, as other board members have noted. I think the percentage of opening to solid wall is something that concerns me in its suitability to this context. I also think the clope style side garage doors. We've had some real issues with the garage doors on the side of the neighbor. And in the end, I think it's what they came up with is a much more successful, albeit more traditional look. But it fits within that obviously new construction. So for me, the scale and percentage of opening versus solid wall in this is probably, especially on that street frontage, is more of a concern to me. I think it's reading as a traditional house that's where you tried to strip off some of the profile, some of the traditional elements, and we've seen some very modern, even way more modern projects come before us in this agricultural area, that some of which have been very sensitively done as commentary on the agricultural landscape and built environment. But I think that a new look at the facade especially would benefit this project in this location.
Susan?
I think Frank said, this could be I'm sorry. I think, it does feel like something that you would find in any number of large developments and new communities, and doesn't seem contextual to me at all either. Whether it's the color or the windows or, the lack of any sort of landscaping to make it contextual, I too find it a little bit much. And I think, Diane, your point about where it's located makes it twice as much.
Everything.
That's the sensitivity, I think, around it.
Well, to me, there are a couple of things. There's like architecture aside, what we're talking about, there's the massing and its location relative to the street. So what I would like to know, and maybe it's something we need to do internally, or if you could come to us with this, is where is the house relative to its neighbors, right? I'd like to know. That's an issue of context. How close is it to
the neighbor
from the street? There's that, and then sort of so we can obviously sort of see the arrangement of the massing. I just want to make sure. I don't think, is Chris said, it doesn't really, and some other members said, the issue I think we're confronting is this selection, frankly, of a transitional architectural language, which I understand some people have an appeal to that, but as an architectural review board, we have to consider the context in which this is going in and how sensitive it is to that site. And I'm hearing some pushback on that. I think the white might also, I just want to make sure, like, when you go away from this meeting, because I'm going to make a wild bet they're probably not going to go away with an approval today.
No.
That I want to make clear, like, about this board's expectations of where this is, right? I mean, if the board is really not comfortable where things are, and I want it to be clear to you and the applicant that we're not comfortable where this is, and for you to go back, do your work, redo the renderings, and there's a misunderstanding perhaps about that the ARB wants some incremental change versus we're asking for something quite different.
We're asking for something quite different.
So,
Would other gentlemen like to speak?
Yes, this is Michael Street. Would you mind giving
Sure. Picture of the house. Or John, you want it? I mean, either of you or both of you. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Would that be okay?
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring up the front of the house because.
Can you identify yourself for the record?
I'm sorry, Michael Street is my name. I'm the owner developer. One thought that comes to mind, so I've developed a lot of houses out here over the years, and quite frankly, this is the first white house I've ever built in 25 years. It just kind of progressed this way. I'm not uncomfortable in just using cedar shingle for the house and leaving it natural. I'm also not opposed. Can I walk over to the?
Sure.
I'm also not opposed, John. I'm not opposed to taking these points out.
Yep.
Up here. I think by removing them across the house and a cedar shingle color, we removed all of or a major part of the issues with the front facade. So that's really, I'm very happy to do that.
Yeah, it's a step in the right direction. Yeah, but we don't want to get into the thing where you make this change and make this change and then you get approved. So I think we're just not favorable to the project. We'd ask you to reconsider it. I think you're headed in the right direction, but you need to come back to us with what you're thinking.
Okay. And what about the orientation? Maybe making it a smaller face to the street and deeper, rather than the other way around, as a way to sort of make it less of a statement when you're driving into town.
And also, I think we need to clarify this outdoor kitchen. Is it a?
We'll do that for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just.
Are there other elements that I haven't seen, for example, and if there are elements that would also fall under the ARB review, like fences, gates, any structure that's above grade is really a part of the.
The fences are left and right of the house, behind the front of the facade, and they'd be just basically wire fences in privet. That'll be like sort of hidden.
Yeah.
4 feet and 4 feet or 6 feet, 4 feet.
Basically it's pool code fence.
Yeah, so that's fine. We don't even approve that.
Yeah, and obviously the small pool house and the little shed was meant to be a little gathering cabana area between the pergola, between the pool house and between the pool and the tennis court.
So what's happening is the backyard program, and we just did another house down the street from you that was a challenge. The tennis court and the pool have pushed the house forward, so it's only 70 feet off the street because that's just the way it works. You work from the back towards the front. I think we'd like to see the house farther back from the street, and if you're going to wall off the front with arborvitae, then it becomes even worse, I think, because it's a self-enclosed sort of tomb of a space.
Yeah.
I'm not at all averse to seeing an extremely attractive house as part of the front facade of East Hampton as you arrive. That's part of the charm. A beautiful building, many of which you've designed, can really be the calling card to the town. And this is that kind of site that you're talking about right here. So I think that's, again, back to Diane's original point, is the importance of this site to the town and to being right on the.
We should take a look at the architecture, and certainly there are things off the top of thinking. For example, like the garage portion of the facade sticks in front of the main gable ends. We certainly could consider pushing that back further to give the building less massing along. Well, not less massing, but less less distance between us and more distance between us and the street. That might help.
It would help a lot because you can see it sticks out. It's the major dominant
Yeah,
part of the
if
front
we were to push that back potentially, that would certainly go, I think, a long way. We do have a series of doors in the front only because it's that part of the facade overlooks the fields across the street. So we want to try and keep that, but we certainly can reduce all of those in a much more simple way. That maybe these look a little complicated, a little big. So we can put a little more traditional detail into it. Maybe
it's a lot of glass. I mean, it's an enormous amount of glass on a house like this.
I think also there's a duality here between, okay, we're gonna plant this thing out on the front, but we want to see through also to the field across the street. So
second floor, I mean,
yeah,
they do want to prop up.
And those, they look like some beautiful cathedral ceiling spaces upstairs. So obviously there's some great volume and although the triangular windows I think are more problematic from the design point of view of the context. Even some kind of attic window up there that lets light in kind of as a gable clerestory could be quite attractive. But I think the percentage again is a bit beyond the character of the agricultural setting that this is in.
I just wish it was a different kind of architectural language that, and I don't, you're clearly capable of. I love some beautiful houses you've done. So it might be more receptive to the board. So.
Are we good for now? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You've been very courteous to a board that wasn't so happy with your project, so we appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Still an agricultural overlay. This is 257 Further Lane in East Hampton, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-189-3-7.2. Frank, this is yours.
Okay, this is an application to approve several as-built structures on a property where this board had approved some accessory structures in the past. This house sits within an agricultural overlay setback in an open field on a flag lot on Further Lane, which is also, property is also referred to as Further Lane Farms. This agricultural reserve, open and visible to the public, makes this property important in maintaining this area's open vistas. It's a very, as we all know, it's a very sort of a beloved property, I think, for residents. It is well maintained, that reserve out front, and the openness is cherished. This board had approved some accessory structures to the west of the main house in the pool area, namely a pool pavilion and accessory building. These approvals happened in 2021 and 23. However, the owner has proceeded to build several structures since then that were not approved by this board, which is why the applicant is before us.
I knew that.
The structures before this board being asked to approve are the following. So let's go. So there are these outdoor kitchens. There's one of these stainless steel outdoor kitchens. Further Lane is beyond. Further Lane is to the right. So this pool area is separated by a privet hedge, about 6 or 7 feet. So there's a barbecue. This is not, again, it was built without approval. Keep going. Yeah, that's another view of that one on the other side of it, just in back of it. And then opposite the pool pavilion is just a sort of a prep area. Keep going. Okay, right up against the house. So the Further Lane is to the right. Right up against the house, hidden in this, there is I don't know if you want to zoom in, there's like a tiny sauna right between those two tall hedges.
It's freestanding, or it's
freestanding walk-in sauna
in front of the house?
In front of the house, yeah, right on the patio there. To the left should be the next shot. is, yeah, let's go to the next one, is a gas fireplace, and that is an outdoor television. That outdoor television faces further lane. I have to look back. I could pull up the height of this, but I think it's about 10 feet tall, that structure. Keep going. I can confirm that, but you can see from the size of it's pretty large. You can see actually from the roof, even it's not as tall as the fascia of the roof, but it's a good 10 feet or so. The pool is beyond, that's the pool pavilion. So in back of the pool pavilion is this like tennis court outdoor kitchen. Again, sort of this stainless steel with a countertop. And this is it faces the tennis court, obviously, next photo. And there are these basketball courts, basketball hoops that weren't approved. Keep going. Another one. The generator was added in this pool enclosure area. The tennis court is to the left. This is further kind of like, it's like we're looking west with further lane way up on the left.
So the
tennis court is to the left.
Was never approved in the original plans?
Correct.
Okay.
Keep going. There's a second driveway gate that with a 6-foot fence that encircles like a store, an area where you have like tractors and things like that for maintaining the property. It's the same gate as that we approved. This is basically like 100 feet or so beyond from the gate you go through, and this is kind of in back of the house. We could look at the survey. So that's a 6-foot high gate. It's the exact same gate as the one we approved. So it's sort of within the property. It's really not visible from further lane. Keep going. The next one, it's not sure if this has been approved. We don't think it's been actually approved. This is, the columns are 6'2" high. This faces further lane. Obviously it's not, it's hundreds of feet from further lane, so it's relatively small. And maybe, I think it's the first two photos we go back to. There's a low stone wall, masonry wall, that is visible from further lane. It's not very tall. It's elegantly done, but I'm sort of surprised that a whole masonry wall was built without our approval. You can see it's not small. Let me think. So I'm going to read a portion of the letter from the applicant's attorney provided to this board for this application. As it transpired, the applicant built or installed other accessory structures on the property without having first obtained the approval of the Architectural Review Board. Frankly, there is no excuse for this. The contractor on the project has acknowledged that, except for the second driveway gate, low stone wall, and outdoor fireplace, and TV installed on the property, was their responsibility to obtain required approvals. Having applied to the Architectural Review Board for other approvals, they can advance no reason or excuse for failing to do so here. Similarly, the contractors who installed the driveway gate and built the outdoor fireplace with TV and the stone wall were before this board on other applications for the property and should have known that the board approval was required for these structures. While the failure to obtain the requisite approvals here could even be said to be egregious, we respectfully submit that as the accessory structures being applied for here clearly meet the standards for your approval, the applicant should not be debarred from obtaining your approval at this time. And I think we're here to debate to see whether it's egregious or not. So we can run through these. My biggest concern is this outdoor television that I discussed with Andy and the project manager on site, because of its potential visibility from further lane. It's quite a large outdoor television, and at night, if you could imagine, maybe even behind the hedge, like there's going to be like an outdoor television, there's going to be a glow for, I'm not sure if it's going to be used in the winter, but there's the existing owner, but anything we approve is in perpetuity, so we have no control over its usage. going forward. That's my long introduction. Andy, if you want to add anything.
Oh, Andy, is this your letter?
Was I,
Who wrote this letter?
I did.
Oh, it's not signed.
No,
It's the most,
it's a memorandum.
but usually it indicates who writes it. It's really the most remarkable letter I've ever read in this position. Like, you don't ask for permission, you ask for forgiveness, and you're saying everything you did was wrong. I mean, like.
Well, except what we did was not wrong. The way we did it was wrong.
Yeah. But the thing I remember is Michael Derrick himself came to present this project to us in the beginning from Landscape Details. And it was a very well thought out project. And we generally don't run into Michael Derrick in these board meetings. He sends his underlings. So for this project to pivot to become a thing that people just built wildly without any permits is just shocking to me.
It's crazy
We
too,
were
also
shocked, too.
because.
You were
I-
shocked, so who's responsible? Well, yeah, someone's
But
responsible.
we had this application, I
wanna
went
name-
over
I
there to
don't wanna
approve
name him.
a fire pit, I went there to approve all these little things, incremental things. And then
And then they
what
just,
happened?
they went off the reservation and did whatever they wanted. I mean,
Well, I think that it got away from them. And, to forgive is divine. What can I say?
but this is probably the
err
most
is human.
sophisticated landscape firm in East Hampton. To have this kind of record in front of us does not sit well with us at all.
Well, I suggest that you keep it in mind, and when they come to you again,
We will keep them in the foyer and not seat them.
you should really, but we do apologize on behalf of those who did this, and I think it was not meant to be contumacious, but it's regrettable, but the stuff is there, and fortunately, luckily, it meets the standards of your statute. It cannot be seen. I think that we have to, Frank was concerned about the eventuality of someone in the future removing the hedges at the front of the house, like, I don't know, facing further lane, and somehow this glare from this TV set
I mean, it's
intruding. And I think that, one thing we could consider is obviously you conditioning your approval on the maintenance of these hedges. The issue is going forward.
Who's going to enforce that? We can't. I mean,
No. Well, the point is, if it becomes a violation. One would like to think that when someone buys a property like this, there is some modicum of due diligence, and they read your approval, and conditioned as it is on the maintenance of that hedge, and the hedge stays. Alternatively, and if it were to be cut down in violation of that condition, this is not something this is going to arouse some kind of controversy if someone's broadcasting TV out onto further lane, and the building department is going to find out about it, and a violation will issue, and they'll have to reinstall the hedge. And you can be detailed as to, what kind of, what height it has to be maintained at.
But we've never had a lot of luck maintaining landscaping details because it's just not our world to go around and check on the landscaping.
It's not for you to check on it.
But even the building department, they have other things to do. But whether it's 5 years from now or 10 years from now, we're not in an enforcement mode on this. What is this? What is this thing? An accessory structure? What is this?
It is an accessory structure.
It's an accessory structure.
6 feet.
My issue, I don't have an issue with the structure itself, frankly. It's the television I have an issue with. And it's also the property itself. This is like one of the most important agricultural lands in East Hampton. It's a gorgeous site, and I can imagine driving by, looking out, and let's say there is someone decides to go out in the fog. A light fog is rolling over, but you can see all the way, and just sort of a mist, and there's this glow of the Knicks or someone like the U.S. Open or something is,
Then at least they're
being
broadcasting
broadcast and I can see it flickering, it will ruin this vista.
Well-
I think if the owners perhaps had also considered maybe reversing it to where it faces the other side, the back of the property. And this is done sort of like, and clearly, I don't know if Michael Derrick and Landscape Details was involved in this, but clearly someone like, I would have hoped someone would have given some consideration as to the television facing further lane.
Yeah, that's.
Let me raise another possibility. I mean, the issue really is someone buying this property and really having notice. If a covenant is put on the property in favor of the town of East Hampton, which requires the maintenance of these hedges, that's pretty strong. I mean, no one can claim it's an indefensible act to cut down the hedges because you're going to get notice of it through your title report. You're going to know it, and
I mean, if there's any example of like a dark sky, a non-dark sky compliant fixture, you're looking at it right there. That's the biggest one.
I was going to say.
I could imagine. It's a massive non-dark sky compliant
Light emitter.
electrical emitter is how I view this. So I'm not comfortable with it.
Yeah, I'm not either.
I agree.
Susan, your thoughts?
I think the television facing further lane is just not.
I don't want to get into a lot of legal mumbo jumbo about maintaining hedges and covenants. The answer is no. I think the board is firm about that. So the TV has got to go.
well, you mentioned that if in fact it could be placed on the other side of the patio, not with the screen not facing further lane.
Well, Frank's the only one who's seen it. That's up to him.
Well,
I still
sorts of
think-
regulations about the amount of lumens that each of these lights have to be to begin with. I can't imagine that any television of that size is going to meet that.
I mean, I do think it needs to be considered as a light emission source. And it's
Well,
not
if
dark
they,
sky compliant.
if there was a, if there was a hood placed over it, it couldn't go up.
Yeah, but the view across the field.
No, it could potentially ruin it really could. It could be just egregiously bad. I mean, we all know a big, large, bright television can be seen from a very long distance.
It's
and it's
distracting.
not just, you can't just put it behind a hedge and say, I can't see it. No one can see it. That's the way light works. It emits. So frankly, you can fight us on this, but I think we have good, reasonable grounds to deny the television out there.
I mean, everybody needs an outside TV.
Nancy, do you concur
What are you
with where
doing?
we're going with this?
How about if it was placed like in the backyard or something?
I think that
I think the light is a problem. It's going to have this Atlantic City boardwalk kind of feel to it.
I mean, it's another thing also if you put it within a pool pavilion where it has a roof and there are walls and there's more protection around it.
If they wanted those chilly autumn evenings with the fire going, sitting out there watching the movie channel.
That's what I'm afraid of.
That's what we're afraid of.
If they were, in other words, turning it around doesn't do it.
Just for the respect of the town, can't they just live without it?
Can't they go inside and watch TV?
Yeah.
Really?
You know.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know.
Okay. So I think so.
They obviously do.
On the other items mentioned.
Do we want to run through those? Let's just go through the slides of the other stuff.
Okay, just so we know what we're doing with this stuff.
I don't have any objection to the other items. Process aside, what's there. I mean, the outdoor kitchen and I'm fine with that.
It's low, it's discreet, it's carefully
It's low,
crafted.
discreet. The masonry wall is actually quite nice.
Is it less than 4 feet?
Yeah. I would have to.
But even at 2 feet, it's still part of the ag overlay review. So,
But it's,
Yeah, it's a structure.
it's the kind of wall you might have seen in an ag overlay
Yeah.
years ago.
You know, the fence, what were the other things? Like the generator, I mean, you can't, that's invisible.
the gate is very far from any public view.
Yeah, the public view is at the bottom there and it's blocked. So,
Can't see any of these things from further away.
Right. But, okay, so are we sort of in agreement? We'll approve the egregious mistakes.
There's
but
also the
TV, the
sauna.
TV's out.
yeah. So I'm willing to approve that structure, the fireplace structure, just there can't be a television. It has to be removed.
Maybe a piece of art or something over there. A piece of art.
Or you can just stucco it over, whatever, you know, or
I really think you're getting off light on this.
So even when you turn it around.
No, it goes. I mean, I think you really pushed us to our limit. But the TV is not, no. Okay, so where do we stand?
okay, so I think we can make, and also just one thing, it was included in this. I assume that there is no lighting that we're approving. I don't mean the sconces, but like landscape lighting.
Landscape lighting all points down. There are a couple of articulated fixtures on the ground, but
But that's not part of this approval, correct? Or is it?
I'd like to,
We don't have any information on it.
okay.
So we can approve the structures that are listed. So,
And what about these sconces that don't appear to be the ones we approved?
so we've discussed that, that you'd have to come back and get approval for
For the sconces.
for the sconces. If they're dark sky compliant, I think it's no promises, but
We pulled the tear sheets from the original approval, and those were not the sconces we approved. No, we pulled the tear sheets from the original approval for the sconces, and those were not the sconces we approved. Okay,
so,
okay.
no promises, but as long as they're dark sky compliant, I think, I'm not sure we're going to have a huge issue with them. For that, yeah. That would be for the CO.
Are we saying the lighting plan in general, since the rest of it hasn't actually been?
We've never approved a lighting.
So we're not going to approve that. We're only going to approve the things on the list here. Now, also, how do we deal with the basketball hoops? Because those can be moved around. Like, do we say, provided that they are within the tennis court?
I don't think they.
Well, okay.
I mean, I see basketball hoops on circles and developments on the street.
Well, I'm just saying if it were movable, that they wouldn't just move it to like the front yard, you know? I mean, logically you wouldn't, but.
What'd you say, Will?
I think it's fixed to the ground.
Okay. So then.
So it's approved for that location.
Okay, so does the board have any objection to the following? The 6-foot driveway gate, the generator, the outdoor fireplace, but not the television, the outdoor sauna, it looks like a phone booth kind of, the stone walls, the basketball hoops, and the outdoor kitchen equipment. Okay.
Pedestrian gate? Is that okay?
The pedestrian gate is not on this application. So can you come back to us with that?
With that.
The pedestrian gate?
We approved the front driveway gate.
The one facing further lane.
Well, actually, it's not asked for in the application, but we would have to go back and see if that was approved.
There's the sconces that I
Right.
saw.
Right, here are the sconces in question.
So they're not dark sky compliant.
They're not even nice.
If they can bring a cut sheet that says,
They're very glitzy.
Yeah, we don't like them.
Okay, so let's wrap this up.
okay.
Yeah, that's the gate. So
So if we were to approve that, it would be 6 feet 2. I mean,
I think it's fine.
are you all, I'm fine with approving it.
Yeah, isn't it? It's way at the end of the driveway, right?
Yeah, that's actually facing further lane. It's perpendicular
But
to
it's
the.
behind the whole field.
Yeah,
It's not behind the house, but it's
No,
behind,
it's behind the field.
But
I mean,
The
it's-
front's,
it's
small.
Yeah, it's pretty obscure.
Okay. So 6'2".
So we have to come back for
Pedestrian
the sconces,
But
lighting.
just the sconces you have to come back for.
And
And the lighting.
and the lighting plan, which is new to us. If you follow.
Anything which we haven't approved for lighting
So the whole lighting plan.
that's not as of right.
Okay.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion for the application as presented, which is the 6-foot driveway gate in back of the main house, the generator behind the tennis court, the outdoor fireplace in stucco, but the TV is not approved, the outdoor sauna, freestanding outdoor sauna, 3 low stone walls to the east of the house, 2 basketball hoops on the tennis court, and 3 outdoor kitchen and barbecue kitchen stations. And also the tennis cabinet on the tennis court, millwork, and the 6'2" tall pedestrian gate facing further lane.
is there a partridge in a pear tree in there?
We can add that if you'd like. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andy.
No TV. Did you say no?
Yeah, he
TV?
said no TV, yes. Yes, yes. On a modification, this is 461 Further Lane, East Hampton, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-170-5-5. Diane, this is also yours.
Yes. We approved this gate in white, I believe, in white, and the modification is simply to approve this nicer dark green color, which we have all the Hunter Green 2041-10. To my mind, it's an improvement, so
That was my application a long time ago. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I think it's
Chris?
an improvement.
Susan?
yeah.
Yeah.
It also matches some of the hunter green trim on the house.
Yeah.
Same color
Yeah.
as the trim. From the
And it's-
approval, we had to come back twice. And from
this
the
recedes-
original application to the secondary, it was suggested to make it the same color as the trim, but that never got to me.
Okay.
Yeah,
And I think it was-
where's
yeah.
my other picture?
I think it recedes better from,
Yeah.
prominence on the
I mean,
further
if it
lane.
were white, it would be so obvious, and it's so recessive now. It's so nice,
That's very nice.
very nice.
Yeah.
So I would like to make a motion to approve this modification as presented.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
So passed.
And then it should be approved for CO, I think is next on the
Yes.
list.
Next.
Very nice work. Very nice work. I bet you're glad it's over.
Chip, could you read in the CO?
Sure. 461 Further Lane, East Hampton, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-170-5-5. Diane, this is yours.
Yes, so this is the gate we just discussed. So I would like to make a motion to instruct staff to notify the building department that this application has satisfied our conditions and a certificate of occupancy can be issued.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
So passed. He's gone, okay. So now into certificates of occupancy. There's just one left. It's Amagansett Dunes, 379 Bluff Road in Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-190-2-16. Frank, this is yours.
Okay. It's an application for a CO for 3 skylights at Amagansett Dunes and unit number 210, a residential complex on Bluff Road, just west of Indian Wells and set far back from the beach. Will, can you actually bring up, there was a previous, is it in there? The sky. If not, don't worry. I had like a satellite photo. You all know where it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's one skylight facing, yeah, okay. So there's one skylight facing the interior of the courtyard, which is to match the other ones, and the other 2 on the eastern roof. The two eastern skylights are not visible from the public, and it's frankly impossible to get to a point where they can be seen. Okay, so the skylight facing the interior of the courtyard generally matches the other skylights. I have no reason to object to this. If you want to go back to the first photo, that's the skylight. That second photo.
That's fine.
Next one. That's the skylight in question.
Yeah.
So they renovate it and just, so I'd like to make a motion to instruct the staff to notify the building department that this application has satisfied the conditions and substantially conforms to the ARB approval of the resolution.
Second,
Second.
Chris, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so passed. Like to make could I have a motion to close the meeting?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
This meeting is officially closed.